Hello everyone and welcome to Sonoma Raceway. The Dallara Formula 3 car has been raced by up-and-coming racing drivers at a variety of racetracks all across the world, but I'm not sure I've ever seen them here. So what are we in for today? Who knows? Well, guess what? It's time to find out. Strap yourselves in everyone, it's time to go racing here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and with me in the booth is Reese Gardiner. Behind the scenes doing all the button pushing is our director Sean Ambrose, and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Sonoma may be a familiar track to NASCAR and also IndyCar fans, but it may not always get the international attention it deserves. Never fear, that's why we have our GSRC track guide to get all of you up to speed.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. One of California's most famous road courses, it resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you?
Well, that's an overview of a Sonoma Raceway, and here's an aerial shot. There's multiple different configurations around here. So Reese, what configuration are we using today? And give us a little bit more info about Sonoma.
Well, we're using the Cup layout for this one. Interestingly, before 2019, the Cup layout had that shortcut down the chute, cutting out the long sweeping left-hander you see in the middle of the lap that doubles back on itself. But since 2019, the NASCAR Cup Series has been using the original long layout of Sonoma Raceway. 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers in length and 12 turns, and those turns are very close to each other. There's plenty of bumps, there's big curbs around here, there's no opportunity to rest. You're constantly turning. It's very easy to lock up in these braking zones that go up and down the hills. Very tough track here at Sonoma.
Indeed it is. So we're looking forward to the race, which will be starting in about 10 minutes time. This broadcast is made possible thanks to a couple of different companies, one of those being Norsled. Norsled is a non-profit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits Norsled with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help and ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. FHR is dedicated to safety development and building community among members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing, track days are the best days. And we definitely have a nice little track day shaping up here. And we don't have any graphics to show you, unfortunately, for the championship, but this is round 5 of the season. And Reeves, can you give us a bit of an update as to how things have been going so far?
Well, the top 3 are Michael Broomhead, Andrew Hardman, and Nick Horvath. And all of those drivers have seen their fair share of success so far this season. Broomhead is the one with the most wins currently. 3 wins so far, and 1 win going to Andrew Hardman. 36 points is what Michael Broomhead is on. Hardman on 31, with Nick Horvath trailing very closely behind on 28 points. And Hardman doing very well right now, being top in the practice session at the moment. Gene Hawkes hitting the walls there through the start-finish stretch, which is a lot like a street circuit, I have to say. This is going to be a pretty tough one for these drivers. In terms of the race details, it's pretty much the same as what we've had all season so far. Fixed setup, 15-minute qualifying, 25-minute race with a fast repair available. So that's what the drivers are going to be dealing with here. They won't be able to change anything on their cars other than the brake bias and maybe a couple of steering settings. But other than that, they have the Sonoma baseline set up to tackle this circuit. And Colander in 6th place there, demonstrating the very difficult opening sector.
Yeah, so here is Andrew Hardman, currently on provisional pole, and he just went faster, 122.5. You saw Michael Broomhead cross the line a moment ago. He went up to 2nd on the timing sheets, but he was getting held up by a slower car, so I'm curious to see what he can do this time around. Now he has a clear track. Here's Calvin Lee in the Red Bull livery, the 007 machine, and spin in the background behind him. This is going to be Calvin's first competitive time, as long as he hasn't put any wheels off, and he must have put some wheels off because that's not counting. But I'm watching Michael Broomhead. Well, we're watching Nick Horvath, but Michael Broomhead will be soon coming over the line after Nick here, so let's see where they go.
For Nick Horvath, it's going to be not an improvement there. Michael Broomhead now trying to improve on his 23.02. See if he can get into the 22s. He can, and it's a 22.466. That is provisional pole there for Michael Broomhead, getting his night off to a good start.
Yeah, but Andrew Hardman is still turning laps around here too, knocking over cones as he goes into the hairpin. And each lap, these top contenders stay out here and qualify and expect their lap times to fall, not only because the fuel is burning off, but the tyres are getting warmer, and Andrew must have had an off-track during that lap because that time doesn't count. But these cars, for the first 2 or 3 laps when the tires are cold, they definitely don't perform at their top, at their best. And now we're several minutes into this session. We're starting to really see the times go down. This is why you don't really want to get be involved in a crash or two during this 15-minute qualifying session. If you have to go in the pits, you have to go through a whole heat cycle again. You get your tires warm again.
Yeah, they start stone cold in these Dallara Formula 3 cars as Horvath making his way back out of the hairpin. Very difficult to put the power down out of that section. You've got to try and keep it tight here across the start-finish line. That is an improvement there for Horvath, down to a 23.251. He remains 3rd, but a little bit closer to Hardman and Broomhead up the front, and Broomhead improving actually. A 22.2 now is the time that he's on, so he's really making a statement here in the second half of the session.
Here comes Gene Hawkes across the line. He knocked that wall down a couple of laps ago. Doesn't do it that time, but is still only 8th fastest as Todd Curtis comes across the line, and Andrew Hardman just came across the line and he didn't improve. Phil Horwitz. A lot of cars seem to be on track together. There's only 10 cars. They've got a whole massive racetrack to be using, but they've just kind of grouped together right now. This is going to be an interesting race coming up for us in 5 minutes. You mentioned a moment ago, Rees, that these drivers will be running a fixed setup, and that's true. However, they can't really be running a Sonoma fixed setup because there is no Sonoma fixed setup for this car. I don't think the people who built the Formula 3 car on iRacing thought anyone would ever race this car here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds, especially as Calvin Lee shows us how tricky the first complex of corners is to get right.
Yes, I'll correct myself from earlier. They're actually running the iRacing baseline set for the Formula 3 here, and yeah, it's not a track that you usually see these cars racing at. They're pretty quick for this place. Having said that, IndyCar do race here, so you do get some fast open-wheeler action, but yeah, very rare that you see Formula 3 cars around Sonoma. Hans Salnave currently at the back of the order. Let's see if he can improve on that 28.8. Unfortunately, looks like he's not going to be able to do it that time around. Todd Curtis, our series organizer, does improve there to pretty much a 25 flat, which is pretty awesome to see. Doughty, he carried a little bit too much speed into the hairpin there. That's another thing that you got to look out for around this track. It's got a few corners with radiuses that open out a bit as you go through the corner, and the track widens a bit, but particularly in the case of that final hairpin, you have to keep it tight there on the exit. Try and straight line your acceleration. Let's see if Calvin Lee decides to take that route through the corner, use all the curb, avoid the tire bundles on the inside, and yeah, keeping it reasonably tight through the second part of the corner. Gets a good exit onto the front stretch, which you cannot call a straight at all. Unfortunately, no improvement that time around, but there's still time for the drivers to go better.
Yeah, I don't really think there's any part of this racetrack you can really call a straight. That, you know, there are short straights, that's for sure. I mean, there you go. On down the front straight there is a little bit straight, but this track twists and turns, a lot of elevation change around here, and you can see a lot of gravel and dirt in the runoff areas. The inside here is all tarmac, but obviously you don't want to be going off on the inside there. So this definitely is a tricky circuit, and this is going to be a tricky car to master on here, especially as they're going up that hill, the hill they're going right now, into this tight right-hander on cold tyres at the very start of a race. I know we've only got 10 cars, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of carnage up there. Fortunately, they do have free repairs, but with it being a 25-minute race, if you do have to take a free repairs, say goodbye to any chance you have of winning.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something that we've seen drivers come a cropper of in previous rounds. Hopefully they all make it through tonight. Calvin Lee, again, down at the hairpin. This track is very short. It's certainly one of those road courses that is over a lot quicker than you think. No improvement there for Calvin. Is it an improvement for Horvath? No, and it seems that a lot of drivers are having a bit of trouble getting those final few tenths of pace out of these cars. What about Broomhead into the 1:21 21s and improves on his bowl time? That was a great lap.
Yeah, well, we showed the track temperature a little while ago. It's 88 degrees now. It is about 10:30 a.m. Virtual time, I like to call it. And of course, it's only going to get later in the day as we advance to the race session. That means the track's only going to get hotter, so these cars will be sliding around a little bit. This track definitely gets a lot of sunshine.
It does indeed. It's in Sonoma in California, on the side of Sears Point, which is the bottom of a mountain range just outside of San Francisco. They're in wine country here. familiar territory for me. You know, I'm in Australia, of course, but the Swan Valley, where I live, is pretty much Sonoma wine country of Australia, at least on the west coast anyway. So it's certainly a great place to grow some grapes, but as you can see from the tan dirt surrounds of this place, certainly got a lot of heat in the air, and it gets very dry in summer conditions, but this track looks amazing in winter with all of the grass making everything green.
And the clock is ticking down to 0. I wouldn't be surprised we get a couple extra minutes here for the drivers to finish off our lap times. So Broomhead, I think, was the first driver to take a checkered flag there, and he has about a half a second lead over the rest of the field. Phil Horwitz is still down in 9th. He had a crash not too long ago, so I gotta imagine he was out there on cold tires. Hardman is on a hot lap. No, he's not. He's going to practice pit entry. Hopefully something he won't have to do during the race, but it's always nice to know where it is.
Indeed, yeah, you won't have to pit in this race. There's no mandatory pit stops, but handy to know what the entry to the pit lane is like in case you lose a front wing somewhere on the first lap. A spin for James Doherty coming out of the hairpin, and Todd Curtis just about doing the same thing. It looked like the rear end got a bit squirrely on the entry to the hairpin there, so doesn't look like this is going to be an improvement for our series organizer on this lap either. 1 minute 38.5. Nick Horvath, can he unseat Hardman and Broomhead? He's going to need 7/10 of a second, 8/10 even, to try and pip Michael Broomhead for pole, but Andrew Hardman is still within reach. He just needs a few tenths. 1 minute 21, 1 minute 22.6. Oh, goodness me. That was an improvement, but not quite enough. It's just 2 tenths there for second place.
Yeah, well, it's nice. I mean, you know, first-time viewers might think, well, as Calvin Lee goes straight into the wall there. A 10-car field, that's not a whole lot of cars, but I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to this one because the top 3 are covered by less than 7/10 of a second in qualifying. And let's bring up our grid for you. In just a few moments, we'll have that graphic come up, but because the qualifying session is technically still ending, even though all of the laps are in, I can tell you Michael Broomhead is the driver who will be starting on pole position for this round 5 of the Flying Huskies Championship here at Sonoma. And it is time to go racing. And Michael Broomhead will be leading this field off for the 25-minute race here at the Sonoma Raceway. Andrew Hardman will be lined up alongside him in second place. Nick Horvath starts third place, as I mentioned, less than 7/10 off of pole. James Doherty will start 5th, and Calvin Lee rounds out the top 5. Starting alongside him will be Nicholas Colander, then Todd Curtis, Gene Hawks, Phil Horowitz, and Hans Sonave. And the entrance already revving in the 10-car field, and the lights off, and away they go. And it's a great start from our front row. I think I saw a jump start from the car starting in 4th place, James Doherty, so he might have to serve that penalty. How good is everyone going to get through the couple of corners at the top of the hill? It looks like a couple of lockups up the back, but a clean start as they head through turn 3.
Single file for the top 3. It was a pretty good start for Andrew Hardman. He got a better run.
He spun. He spun.
Oh.
Over in turn 4. He's off camber right there.
Oh, dear.
And another car slides into him.
That's Todd Curtis who's gotten into him there as the rest of the field continues on. That's a big shame to see. We'll let the first lap run out here before we check out what happened, but Todd Curtis is in the pits with heavy damage. It looks like Hardman has been able to continue, but he's missing his front wing. Meanwhile, it is Michael Broomhead leading the way from Horvath, Colander, Doherty, and Calvin Lee. Doherty managing to work his way back up into 4th place as a result of that as they come through this final sector. Very twisty through here, and the dirty air certainly plays a part.
And off into the gravel and bouncing up in the air is Horvath, running in second position, trying to maintain that second position. And sure enough, do we have a car coming into the pits? Yes, we do. That's James Doherty, I believe, in the number 61 car. I saw him jump the start from 4th position.
Yeah, indeed.
I think I just saw Michael Broomhead tag the wall as they were coming up the hill there. It doesn't seem to have damaged his car, but even our leader flirting with disaster.
Yeah, it seems Broomhead suffering a couple of lockups. Yeah, and he actually did collect the inside wall through the first turn. So he might be walking wounded there, Mr. Broomhead, but still trying his best to hold on to this lead over Nick Horvath, which he is doing by a good margin. About a second is the time between our leaders at the moment.
All right, so Andrew Hardman has came in for a front wind change. He was able to drive to the pits on his own. So here you see he was running in second position, and so here we go. This is him coming towards pit road, just an idea of a damage. Here's a replay of a whole start. So you see the top three are able to break away from Doughty in fourth place and everyone else. I think Doughty was kind of taking it conservative at the start, kind of bunched everyone in fifth place on back. So Hardman gets away up front, actually. And then as they go through turn four, just under pressure, he spins around.
Yeah, it looked like the maybe the rears just pinched and Curtis went too hard into the turn and Hardman was right there. That was a big hit, and neither of those drivers are going to be too happy with how that happened, but it looks like it all happened due to mistakes that they made on their own, and Hardman is back out on circuit. It does seem to me that these Formula 3 cars, once that rear end goes on entry, there's very little you can do to save it.
So here we go back up front where Michael Broomhead leads the field. So he had pole position. He did not lead the field through the first complex of corners, but quickly got the lead back when Hardiman made his mistake. Now Hardiman was able to drive his car back to the pits and replace the front wing. Todd Curtis was not as fortunate. He had to take a tow to the pits to get repairs, and James Doughty is currently off at turn 2, just keeps it off a wall, so he's definitely not having a fun race so far.
No, he isn't, and that's something that can very easily happen here at the opening turns here at Sonoma. Just brings it in. You got to try and keep it to the left, but he just turned. He was just a little offline coming in, and the front end didn't give him the grip that he needed to stick to the inside. That's an off-camber turn there at the second turn, so very easy to do. But fortunately, he has managed to keep going with minimal damage. He is going to start facing some pressure there from Andrew Hardman behind, but here is a battle between Phil Horwitz and Gene Hawkes for 5th, and it looks like these guys are going to be keeping each other very close company.
Yeah, well, they've actually already switched positions this lap. Gene Hawkes, we saw that in practice, him getting very close to that wall. I think he may have tagged it again just there. But Gene actually had a moment at turn 4 and has having a moment now. As we ride on board, he's able to retain 6th place, but obviously is out of a battle for 5th now.
Absolutely. To the replay then, and this is another thing that's easy to do through that off-camber opening turn up at the top of the hill. You just get on the throttle a bit too early, and as you come over the rise, the rear end breaks free. It was a good save by Hawkes to keep that thing going, but yeah, he's now lost touch with 5th place, and he's going to have Hans Sulnave to worry about very shortly. But we look a bit further on. It looks like Hardman is starting to try and make up some positions here, up behind James Doughty on board.
Yeah, so James fell back into the clutches of Hardman after running off earlier on in the lap, and now Hardman's right on him. He was able to out-qualify him by 1.5 seconds, so I don't know if James will put up too much of a fight here. Hey, he didn't make it too easy, but there we go. They've switched positions. Hardman is now up into 8th position, and unfortunately only 9 cars left running. Todd Curtis was able to get back out on track again, but then had another crash, which is unfortunate as he had already used his first street repair.
That's a big shame there, as Sulnave and Horwitz together there, and it looked like Horwitz either having to serve a slowdown or making a mistake, so that's that move made. And now between Hawkes and Sulnave, This is how the battle is going to work out, and Gene's just a bit tentative there into the right-hander, coming up to the middle sector of the track. Salnave not quite using all of the track on the exit, but still getting a reasonable run here. And man, this turn, Samuel, is so difficult. You've got to depend on your aero through here. If you don't have the front grip, then that turn's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I told a bit of a fib about Todd Curtis. He actually repaired the front wing the old-fashioned way after taking a tow from his first incident, so he was able to get his free repair after his second crash, and he is back out there on track now, albeit 2 laps down. And right now, we continue to ride on board this battle for 5th and 6th position. Michael Broomhead holding about a 2-second lead at the front of the field ahead of Nick Horvath. But let's give a shout out also to Nicholas Collander. I don't think we've mentioned him since the start of this race. He started 6th and he's up into 3rd.
Yeah, Nick's doing pretty good here at the moment and running those reasonable lines around this place. Oh, maybe a bit too hard into the right-hander there, but you can afford to go a bit wide through there. It's slightly quicker than it looks. And yeah, I think Collander, he doesn't have much to worry about from behind. He's got Calvin Lee a few seconds back and not in much danger, but this track, very easy to make a mistake with that grass and gravel right by the road, and you see how big and brutal these curbs are, especially in a stiff open wheeler. That can really send you off.
So we're approaching the 10-minute mark of this 25-minute race, about 6 laps in. Probably looking at something between 15 to 20 laps for this event. I'm sure the drivers have calculated it a bit more accurately than myself. We'll find out together. Well, there's going to be a lot of laps, and Michael Broomhead keeps laying down lap times like that. He'll click them all off in a hurry.
Absolutely, he will. He's getting right down to qualifying pace now. There's Mr. Broomhead. And at the moment, in this field, it seems that's the case for everybody. Just trying their best to keep the times consistent. There's big gaps that have formed between a lot of the cars now, but one mistake and we'll see these cars together once again. But Broomhead, I think his main strength has been that consistency out at the front. Yeah, he's had to work for a couple of his victories so far this season, but he's managed to keep the pace up, keep the car clean where it matters, and bring home those big points.
One pass we will see probably within the next couple of laps is Andrew Hardman on Phil Horwitz. He's catching him about 3 seconds a lap, and currently he's 5 seconds back. So, yeah, we'll ride on board Hardman, give you an idea of just how quick he can get around here. Doesn't get through turn 4 the best, it looks like, right there, but got through it at least a lot better than what he did on the opening lap.
This gyro cam really shows off the elevation changes around Sonoma beautifully. You see that big dip as Hardman comes out of the long descending left-hander, and you use those advertising boards on the left-hand side as the braking point for this hairpin, which again is a bit quicker than it looks. This track's been through a lot of changes over the years, but what hasn't changed is the route that this track takes. It's actually interesting. Through this section that Hardman's going through right now, there used to be a hill right next to the side of the track. When the IndyCar course was constructed, that hill was flattened, and so now that section of the track is a lot more open than it used to be. But Sonoma, definitely a hilly circuit, except for down here at the bottom where mechanical grip is incredibly important.
Yeah, I think I've seen a replay on YouTube somewhere where there was a cup car that flipped over several times after hitting that hill, so you can't blame them for wanting to get rid of it before IndyCar came here.
Absolutely. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's Salnave.
Yeah, okay. Looks like a pretty simple incident there. He just went a bit too hard into the opening turns, got caught offline, and then into the wall and into the gravel. So he's managed to get back going. Good to see. And it hasn't stymied the run of our drivers here, who are battling incredibly hard still. This has brought James Doherty back into contention with this battle. Let's see how they go. Oh, trying up the inside there on Phil Horwitz was Andrew Hardman, and Horwitz around. Hardman has to take avoiding action, but looks like no one else involved in that. Oh, Horwitz is going to have to deal with Salnave and Doherty here. Look at the exit that Doherty has. Fantastic stuff, and has no choice but to yield, does Horwitz. And have a look at this. Coming up behind them, Todd Curtis. This race has gone off.
Yeah, Curtis a couple laps down, unfortunately. But yeah, so Doherty just picked off 2 positions in one there, going by and off goes Curtis again. And if he hits the wall, it's going to be hit, but he keeps it off the wall.
Goodness. Very well held there by Todd Curtis. But he's just going to be racing for a finish and some points on the board here. He's out of contention, being 2 laps down. So these guys will have to sort themselves out along there. Looks like Andrew Hardman is still chipping away at the gap to Gene Hawkes, and Gene just ran wide in the left-hander. He's way offline through the chicane, and this could be a move here for Andrew Hardman. Up the inside he comes, and position gained.
Yeah, we'll get a replay of that. Here we go. So Hardman had to fight hard for this one, but honestly, it's probably the last one he's going to be able to pick off, because he's got about 30 seconds between him and Calvin Lee in 4th place, who's running competitive times. And the irony, of course, is Hardman pulled off a nice move there at the turn where it all came undone on that opening lap.
Yeah, that's the way racing goes. You know, you'll pass by the same spot on a circuit multiple times, and in the back of your mind, if you made a mistake there early, you're just like, damn, I wish I could just, get things a bit more right next time. But up the front, Michael Broomhead continuing to hold on to this lead as Hardman continues to chase down Lee here. A little bit wide through the hairpin, but squares up the exit very nicely. Let's see then how far up he can move himself. That particular lap time, 1 minute 24.276. It was a 24.176 on Calvin Lee's last lap, so that's going to be a tough gap to make up.
So I'm taking a look at the point standings. We established that Michael Broomhead was leading the points coming into this race, and of course he's going to be able to extend that as it stands with another victory. Hardman won't be doing himself any favours down there in 5th place. Horvath will definitely close up, if not get by him, running up in 2nd position right now. And then there was actually a tie for 4th coming into this race in points between James Doherty and Nicholas Colander. As I mentioned, Colander, we haven't talked about him a whole lot today. He's had a quiet race, but if he pulls off his 3rd place finish, he'll break that tiebreaker in his favour.
He absolutely will, and in a season like this, it's all about getting those consistent finishes. I think about James Doherty. He finished 2nd in the opening round of the Red Bull Ring after stealing the lead from Michael Broomhead for a few laps. But this is far away from where James Doherty would like to be with that mistake on the opening lap. So just goes to show. A season is all about consistency, especially in small fields like this, in very stiff and quick machines like this, as Doherty makes his way past Gene Hawkes out on track, it seems. Looks to me like they've changed position there. It's just come up on my timing, and Gene Hawkes managing to hold on, but we'll have to wait and see where that gap ends up at the end. Broomhead's just keeping it nice and consistent out at the front and running consistent 1 minute 22s, 1 minute 23s. That was a 23.5 on that particular one there, and he hasn't deviated much.
Yeah, so Salnev, you may have noticed dropping down, well, he's been in 9th place for a while, but now he's dropped down 2 laps. He's coming out of a pits after taking a free repair. He overshot a turn in the S's a few laps ago, and Todd Curtis got into the back of him. So Salnev and Curtis, who were already running 9th and 10th, another incident that's basically ended Curtis's day and obviously put Salnev out of contention for the fight in the top 8 as well.
Yeah, poor Todd Curtis. He's elected to pull that thing into the pits, saying on the InSim text chat, "I've caused enough damage. I'm parking." So it's a shame to see, but a track like this is incredibly tough to get right on the best of days.
Well, getting it right now is Michael Broomhead. He's extended his lead to 5 seconds. He's coming around to complete his 12th lap with a little over 8 minutes left in the clock. So probably looking at another 5 laps there. He keeps locking up the tires, but 25 minutes, I think those tires will be able to take it.
Yeah, these cars are pretty tough as we'll go to Calvin Lee, seeing Broomhead across the line. Calvin Lee making his debut last time out at Donington Park in this series, and it seems to be lapping consistently out there.
Green Hawks just had to spin and lost 7th position to Phil Horwitz. He's gotten back out on the track, no damage, but the number 458 car has dropped back into 8th place, the last car on the lead lap.
Indeed. We're going to do a lap comparison here with Nicholas Collender, see if Lee can catch up, and you see that Collender was faster over the last few laps, but in the last couple of laps it seems that Calvin is starting to climb his way back in. I don't know if there's enough time for that gap to really close though, unless Collender has a spin.
All right, now lap traffic for Michael Broomhead to deal with. They're all spread out a little bit. He just got by Green Hawks, so you know you would think this wouldn't cause him too much trouble, but unfortunately the cars who are at the back today have been struggling for grip. We've had a few spins, and whenever there's a spin in motor racing, you can never be sure where the car's going to end up. So hopefully for our race leader here, he's able to get by Phil Horwitz in the not too distant future without too much difficulty.
Yeah, I'll certainly be hoping that here too, in my position in the comms box. You know, a track like Sonoma with so many turns coming, such quick succession. Again, it's easy to make a mistake coming across the top of the hill there. Broomhead getting into the gravel but holding on to it. Let's see if Horwitz makes this easy here for Broomhead on the inside. And there's the dirty air effect from these cars. They don't produce as much downforce as an Indy car or a Formula One car, but if you're going through a fast turn close behind another car, you definitely feel the difference in how much grip you have available to you. So Broomhead now past Horwitz, and it seems he's got clear air until James Doherty, who he's very unlikely to catch in the last few minutes of this race. But thank goodness he didn't come up on anyone in this section, because this is where front grip is most important.
The clock continues to tick down. As you mentioned, I don't think we'll see Broomhead do any more lapping. Nick Horvath has got to work his way by those 2 lap cars that we just had, though, Green Hawks and Phil Horwitz. And those two, Gene and Phil, may be actually one of our more interesting battles for the positions in the closing minutes here, only separated by a few seconds.
Yeah, we'll see how both of them go. Looks like Horvath has managed to get by Hawks. And
James
looks like James Doherty retiring. Oh no.
This just happened. I saw him on track a few moments ago.
It looks like the very same turn at which his original incident happened, except this time he went a bit too hard into the turn, got onto the gravel and spun into the embankment, and he just quit out right then and there.
Yes, that's turn 4. That's why Hardman had his incident earlier. Doherty has basically had the replica. No worries. Like I say, a lot has happened this race, so it's easy to get confused. But yeah, he could have continued going, but opted to just park it.
Maybe he thought that the race was lost at that point, that he was having a bit too much trouble keeping the car in a straight direction. Either way, it's going to be no points for James Doherty from this round. But with 4 minutes to go, Broomhead still lapping away here at the very front of the field, and it's really cool to watch this guy drive around. You know, I think in terms of one-lap pace and race performance, he's been the class of the field this season, and it certainly shows. He's kept that consistency up, and he's managed to set some very blazing times here in the race as well, while keeping it off those curbs.
Yeah, so there'll be either 2 or 3 laps left to go, depending on how quickly Broomhead turns these moments, turns these final moments, he can't really afford to give up too much time and, you know, reduce the amount of laps left that he has to do, because Horvath is only 7 seconds behind him. You know, I was watching F1 TV the other day. There was a race back in 1990 or 1991 where Senna was leading race and did exactly that. He knew it was going to be a timed race. He had such a lead, so he started slowing down so that he could minimize the amount of laps he had to do. You can't blame him back then, how unreliable those cars were.
Yeah, and how difficult they were to drive as well. I mean, the race cars today are still difficult to drive, but the ones back in the early 90s were incredibly tough machines. And Nick Horvath having a bit of a tough time here behind Phil Horwitz, trying to lap him before the race is out and keeping the exit nice and clean, have to say. But I certainly think that Horwitz isn't going to give him too much trouble. Both of these guys know how big the gaps are, and I think, oh no, just as I say that, off he goes. He manages to keep it out of the wall, though, very well held by Nick Horvath.
Yeah, he has 18 seconds over Nicholas Colliner, or at least he did before that error, so he wasn't in risk of losing that second position, but he was in risk of losing a lot of positions, obviously, had he hit the wall. I really don't know if Broomhead is coming up to start the final lap or not, because when he crosses the line, there will be pretty much exactly 1 minute 23 seconds left on the clock, which is the lap times that he's turning.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes then if he decides to go for a tactical lift on one of the straights just to stretch that final lap out a bit further. But he's coming through the final sector now, coming up to 1 minute 40 to go, and yeah, it's looking like this is going to be pretty borderline whether or not this is going to be the final lap or not. So let's see if Broomhead decides to keep up the pace or just back off a tiny bit to minimize the amount of laps. He's got the gap to play with. He's got absolutely nothing behind him, no pressure whatsoever, and it looks like with 1 minute 20 on the clock as he crosses the line, this is going to be white flag.
Don't you love it when we have racetracks like that where it's obvious the flagman is just standing there right in the center of nothingness? You know exactly what's going on. So the white flag is out, which I think Michael Broomhead would have liked to see. Sure enough, he ran in 1 minute 24 last lap around, which definitely isn't competitive for him. You know, sure, he has a massive lead, but every extra lap you run is another extra lap for something to go wrong. So I think Broomhead will be quite happy that he's working his way through the carousel this final time and is looking for his 4th victory in 5 races this season.
Hasn't it been a successful season for Michael Broomhead? Yeah, he's had a couple of occasions where he's done a little whoopsie, maybe off the line at the start or coming together with another car on the first lap at Imola, but other than that, it's been pretty much flawless here for Michael Broomhead, getting the results he needs, taking those victories, getting that championship points lead, and with just a couple turns to go, he will be in sight for that 4th victory.
Through the hairpin for the final time, driving the 00, Michael Broomhead gets on the loud pedal, and he will be able to see the checkered flag waving, and Michael Broomhead wins at Sonoma Raceway. Now, coming into the hairpin right now,
Whoa.
Nick Horvath not being challenged for 2nd place, but having to deal with a lot of lap traffic and making sure they keep their wits about them right here. He doesn't want to be involved in an incident this late. None of this is for position. That's Hans Salnev in 8th, Nick Horvath in 2nd, Phil Horwitz in 6th place. And here is Nicholas Colliner. He will get the 3rd step off a podium. I would say he's going to win the bronze medal, but I think that would annoy our director. 4th place is Calvin Lee. There's a long story to this, guys. And Andrew Hardman, championship-wise, he's not going to be happy with 5th place after he was leading the opening few corners of this event. But you know what? That's actually a pretty good recovery drive, Aries.
Yeah, certainly is. Good to see them at least make it to the finish, and that's going to be a very significant result for Nicholas Colander. With James Doherty having the poor result that he's had, that means that Colander is pretty much guaranteed 4th place in the standings out of this one. So can't wait to see where the final few rounds take us.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up a racing, but it's not going to wrap up our broadcast. We're going to have post-race interviews for you as well as a full race rundown here on GSRC. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Sonoma Raceway, where we just witnessed round 5 of the Flying Huskies Championship here. A 25-minute Formula 3 race at this tricky road course in California. And Michael Broomhead was the race winner for the 4th time this season, ahead of Nick Horvath, who ran pretty much second all race after Hardman had his issue early on. Nicholas Collander rounds out the podium ahead of Calvin Lee, not too far behind him at the end there. Nice job by Calvin. Andrew Hardman rounds out the cars on the lead lap, but I'm sure he's not too thrilled with 5th place. Phil Horwitz is a lap down in 6th place, and Gene Hawkes in 7th. Those two switched their position around a few times as they took their turns, making a couple of mistakes. Hans Salnav had an incident with Todd Curtis, I believe, that put him down to 8th position. James Doughty had a spin and kind of that put an end to his race, and Todd Curtis had a few incidents, rounds out your top 10 and your overall finishing order there. Well, let's talk to a few of our finishers. Who's first up?
I think first up should be our race winner, Michael Broomhead, Sam.
Yep, here we go. Mike Broomhead has came to talk to us. Michael, you weren't winning, you weren't leading for the opening complex of corners there, but then Andrew Hardman made it a bit easier on you.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for him, but a lot of luck for me. He got a very good start, as he usually does. I'm usually not as good as him, but thankfully for me, and unfortunately, I think he got some damage there as well. So it was a good turnout for me.
Yeah, and this is your fourth win in 5 races this season, so obviously this is very good for you championship-wise. But Nick Horvath was keeping you honest, especially through the first half of a race.
Yeah, he usually does, to be honest. He comes on strong usually at the end, but in all credit to him, actually, he's actually dealing with the symptoms of the second COVID shot at the moment, which have developed during the race. So he gets major credit for finishing as he starts to develop those. But yeah, I mean, actually, I just want to also say that Andrew was very fast. He came out the pits, I think, 35 seconds in front of me and ended at 27 or something. So he definitely had the pace for me today. Unfortunately, the opening lap didn't help out.
Here again, a slow motion replay of his spin on our broadcast while we're talking to you right now. But so that is that here for Sonoma. You're the race winner, but next time, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to go to Le Mans. You're going to have to do it all again. How do you fancy your chances there in France?
Not too bad. Raced majors there recently, so a little bit of recent experience, but it'll be interesting to see how these F3 cars go down the Mulsanne. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, we're looking forward to it too. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Mike, and congrats on your victory.
Thank you so much.
And that was your race winner, Michael Broomhead. And Reese, you've called up with our second place finisher, Nick Horvath.
I have indeed. Welcome to the broadcast booth, Nick. Michael was mentioning the symptoms of that second COVID shot that started emerging during the race, but still a very strong finish for you nonetheless.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting that. I don't really know what I was thinking there, but Mike just drove the absolute perfect race, and I did not. So I really got to give it to him. I thought in the beginning I might be able to catch or at least keep up with him, but he was just flying tonight.
Yeah, it's a difficult track to get right here at Sonoma, isn't it? Particularly in these very stiff Formula 3 cars. It's very crucial to try and ride the right curbs and avoid most of the curbs around here.
Yes and no. I find a lot of the guys do avoid them. I tend to hit them because I'm different and it's a little bit fun. Makes it a little bit interesting, but I found, especially as the race got on, the car just wants to go a little bit wider around every corner. So it's really just about adjusting to how the car adjusts to the track, and if you can really get that down, then it's really easy to keep up. But I mean, when you're battling your own body, it just doesn't really work out like it does in practice.
Yeah, certainly. Things can change a lot between race conditions. Well, I think at the very least, with this finish and the problems for Andrew Hardman there on the opening lap, the gap between you two is definitely reduced in the championship. So you could be on for second in a round or two if you play things right.
Well, I'm excited for that. I'm really looking forward to the battle. Andrew races hard. He's really, really good at what he does. It's just an unfortunate mistake that I've made a couple times already myself. So, I mean, hopefully we can battle it out for the next couple rounds and make it actually a little bit exciting. And I'm really looking forward to it.
We'll see how things go at Le Mans. Thank you very much for joining us, Nick.
Thank you.
So Nick Horvath there, second place on the track here. And it looks like final driver interview of the night, Sam, Nicholas Collender. Great third place.
Yeah. Here.
Tuesday. Good to see you.
Hello, Nicholas. And a great start by you. It took us a couple moments to mention you at the start of a race because there was so much going on the opening lap. But boy, you had a heck of an opening lap. You started 6th and you were 3rd by the time you came out of turn 4.
Yeah, I just try to keep it nice and calm. Racing's funny. You're not going to win it on the first lap, but you will certainly lose it. And I got lucky. I blew my start too, which was really funny. And went around the guy to my front of me, and in the first turn of the right, cold tires, I just, got lucky. But a great race as usual. Tuesday nights are fun. Tuesday nights a blast. I'm sorry.
Yes, so like I say, you started 6th and you finished 3rd. You got a great start that helped you get up there. Did you think you would be able to hold on to that 3rd place finish once you got it? How do you feel about this racetrack?
I don't know this track that well, admittingly. I love the elevation. I love how the car actually transforms about midway through. Start finding crazy grip on exits, a lot of strange camber in the turns as well. It's a mental game. You know, I saw Calvin. Calvin's a new addition to our league. Shout out to him. He's a blast to race with. We are very evenly matched. Last week, we were pretty much evenly split. We battled. I think he got me last week, actually. And then this week, we were evenly split in qual again. And I was very much aware of where he was on track. So shout out to him for pushing me. And, you know, hopefully we have more battles in the future.
Yeah, to emphasize what you said for our viewers at home, less than 0.02 of a second separating you and Calvin in qualifying. So definitely very evenly matched. So we'll see which one of you two comes out on top in 2 weeks at Le Mans. How do you feel about Le Mans?
Love that track. That's an old school, amazing track. It's fast. It's going to be a blast either way. You know, this is a great league. I want to really shout out Todd for putting this together. All the guys, really. Mike Broomhead as well. And I also want to plug, you know, if you're listening to this, if you're looking for a SimRacing league to join with a bunch of chill guys, a lot of respect, this is it. You know, I haven't had this much fun in a league, honestly, ever. And it's great to have fun, clean battles. So, you know, come on and join Flying Husky. What they're doing here is really special.
I'll echo those sentiments there, Nicholas, and congrats on the third place finish here today, and we look forward to seeing you at Le Mans.
Absolutely. By then, my son should be here. I'm having my first child. His name will be Axel.
Oh.
Hopefully you can check this out in the future, guys. We appreciate what you guys do as well. You guys are awesome.
Oh, congratulations. Great to hear. Well, Reeves, that was round number 5, and interesting to get some different perspectives there. How did you feel about today's event?
I felt pretty good about it, honestly. It's you know, more of the same for Flying Husky Racing. There's drivers having good nights, drivers having not so, and a little bit more shaking up in the championship, which is what I like to see. But, you know, I won't pass up the opportunity to watch open wheel cars around Sonoma. It's a wonderful track for these cars, and I'd like to see the F3 racing here a bit more often.
Yeah, and to reiterate what Nicholas just said, you know, giving the plug to the series, I've been racing the Formula 3 in the official series on iRacing a lot recently, and one of the criticisms there, well, 2 criticisms, are the excessively large field size and the lack of driver respect between them, and it's nice to see a lot of respect in this. And right now it's a small field size, so we actually get to have some good racing and less carnage, and we appreciate all the drivers coming out here today and putting on an entertaining show. That's definitely for sure. The other people, of course, who helped make this possible are North Sled, which is the non-profit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits North Sled with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help and ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. Flying Husky Racing is dedicated to safety, development and building community among its members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing, track days are the best days. Additional thanks for today's broadcast goes to the companies that help make this software and hardware for our broadcasts, so you can see those listed on your screen. Also thanks to June Lalonde, who provides us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Reeves, Sean and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, or Instagram at GSRC_gram. Join us live again in 2 weeks' time, the same time in 2 weeks' time, for round number 6 from Le Mans. All of our upcoming races for our other series here on the Global Sim Racing Channel are listed on your screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down in your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.